Thank you, Nicola, for the introduction. Johannes Clementi, I'm working for AERODATA now since 9 years about, and I will give some details to the company AERODATA within my presentation. I hope you enjoyed the lunch and you are friendly and calm, so I don't have to think about flying bottles or something like that.
We gave you the slot just after lunch, just to make sure you won't be too disturbed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to give some details about AERODATA, a short introduction into the project. I would like to, or within the project, I would like to give some links to the different items which will have been presented the last 2 days, because there are several traps mentioned the last 2 days, and we try to use one or the other to step in and get kept. So it's reality that not everything works well, and I'm open to show you these points. AERODATA comes up about 30 years ago as a startup from the university with a positioning and real-time data processing and sensing. Some other issues are generated out of them, so we are now having a very complex integrated system for mission control and mission flights. So we combine several sensors within the aircraft to allow the operator to be effective as possible. We are, besides the mission equipment, which is more or less focused on border patrol and search and rescue issues, our main business is the flight inspection systems to calibrate the airports. We have, in the meantime, the turnkey capability for mission solutions for maritime patrol, police, and surveillance purposes. And we also developed a communication and navigation system in the past, which is now going more or less a little bit running out of time, but we have done that in the past. AERODATA has a possibility to cover the entire value chain from the design to production, maintenance and repairs, as well as in the maintenance CAMO capability as well. Yeah, we are lucky, and that is also with reference to our good cooperation with EASA. We have demonstrated 100% on-time delivery within the time frame I can cover, which is 9 years. We met all the points, unless it's happened on the last day. However, we catch this point. AERODATA is a not too big facility, directly located to the airport in Braunschweig. We have there the opportunity to use the airport at any time, more or less, not during nighttime, but the frequency is not so high, so we can make test flights and everything. We have also the maintenance for Beechcraft aircraft, for example, which gives us a continuous training on this aircraft. And at least we do have some test facilities for temperature tests and electromagnetic compatibility, as we learned in the morning, where we can check several COTS equipment during production and a little bit later. About 130 people are my colleagues. Different nations are with us, and we have about 50% of all employees are D-grade engineers, and out of them about 30 are within the design organization. Here is core competences, starting with the design, with the EASA approval, production, the integration, which is a big advantage to have the people directly linked to us. The operation, one operational approval we do have in Australia, and training as well, for practical training of the personnel. AERODATA is a group of companies. One is the AERODATA located in Braunschweig. The other one is Optimare, located in Bremerhaven. They are doing development and production of sensor equipment specialized on environmental protection purpose to measure oil on the water as one example. The others are the standard mission profiles for example, for the federal police, for a Spanish operator, and on the left-hand side above is the Beechcraft for Malta, which will be the story afterward. The mission equipment we install start in the cockpit. In this case, we have a cockpit information display providing the situational or helping in the situational awareness. Today, we have integrated this unit into the Collins Proline Fusion system, where we are at the position where is the head of the pilot flying in visual flight conditions, so or under visual flight rules. Yeah, but we have to have some information at the cockpit. And outside of the aircraft, most of you are very well aware of a portion out of this. This is 360 surveillance radar, SAT intercom, bubble windows on the aircraft, IES transponders for ships. This aircraft is equipped with a drop hatch, drop equipment, a retractable EOIR system, and a directional finder for safe and rescue. The cabin looks this about, with all the requirements met with regard to emergency evacuation and all these items. One big test was after the first modification of the aircraft, dropping the life rafts. We have done extensively flight tests together with EASA. This one EASA would not like to be part of, because they mentioned nothing falls out of the aircraft which is EASA certified. So we have done that for our own to demonstrate compliance with the needs of the customer. Yeah, the installation of the customized equipment was necessary in the third aircraft. We sold already 2 to Malta, and we get this contract for the third one about 3 years later, which is wonderful and a kind of graduation for us. The customer comes back, but on the other hand, we are faced with Textron, which developed as well, and the aircraft moved forward. So the third aircraft was then the Textron B250 as a salesman, and they should be as close as possible to the B200 we delivered before. The aircraft has some significant changes on board, which means they have got winglets on the wings, and in addition a performance improvement kit with changed propellers and a better engine, or a powerful engine. So we are faced with some changes to the aircraft as well. We decide to go in 2 steps. One step was an increase to the 14,000 pound maximum takeoff weight. And the second one was then the installation of the customized mission equipment, which is mainly the radome and the EOR lift and gimbal. The first step 1 was a major significant. The second one was a major non-significant, which is important later on. The time frame was a little bit more than 1 year for the work on the aircraft, and it was sportive but manageable. Here you see the little red part on the wing on the right hand side of the picture, which means that this was a winglet. And as we learned from Textron, the wing with a winglet was not approved for 14,000 pound MTOV, or maximum takeoff weight. So we have to get rid of that. Yeah, we make some arrangement. As fact, the third aircraft has winglets. To meet the configuration, we need an STC with clean winglets or with clean wings. And we are faced with the fact that all substantiation data was owned by Textron, and they are not willing to hand out one drawing, one substantiation report, which is understandable. And on the other hand, AERODATA has to be responsible for the STC, for the wing modification, because Textron at that moment was not interested in this mod. The resolution was we found an arrangement with Textron that Textron will deliver the substantiation directly to EASA, which seems to us acceptable. And we have found with EASA an agreement that they accept this data from Beechcraft as a TC holder. So far, so good. At the end, we get a remark from our DO team leader that is not 100% enough, because our idea was if the TC leader or TC holder hands over the documents, all the requirements with regard to continued airworthiness, with record keeping and so on, will remain on Textron, and they will do everything what is mentioned in the CS21. So we thought it's good enough, and we make the other one for the wing modification. We did the flight testing and everything, but we are wrong with that. Even if the TC holder is providing the data to EASA, we have to have the right to get the data later on. So I hope it's clear to you what I mean. At that moment, AERODATA is TC holder and have the obligation to be in the position to provide all substantiation data. But they were not in our files, they were not in our substantiation package, and it's not enough that the TC holder with his obligation sends the data. So that is one mark I would like to give you. Be careful in assuming that the data provided by the TC holder is your part of your STC. I hope I can make it clear. Later on, the installation of the mission equipment take place. There we do have mainly the important items, the light blue one, the EOER system, the gimbal installation, the drop hatch and the rudder, as well as a bubble window, which are part of the TC of the aircraft. So the aircraft was delivered to us in green configuration. The mission equipment, as a radome and the others, are certified by Textron, by the FAR as a change to the TC. So no STC was available, it was a change to TC. And the related substantiation data of the mission kits are already property or also property of Textron, but AERODATA should be the responsible STC holder. Again, we found an arrangement with Textron that Textron will deliver a statement. It was only a paper stating that the EOER lift system, that's a radome, and all the stuff are part of their TC. And it was 3 letters, not more, simply stamped. Then we have reached an agreement with Textron that they support our installation when we do have some deviation between the type design data and the as-is situation. And we have reached an arrangement with EASA to accept this letter from the TC holder. And that works. Even if we are not holder of the documents, that was acceptable, because it was part of the TC, of the type certificate, and we do not have any further obligation to have these documents available. That was managed by these 3 papers where, in this case, Textron gives EASA and us the statement that is part of the TC. And this works, and this is another way to get the documents or to cover the obligation given in the 21. Third item was the flight manual. As mentioned, we have done this modification once with the Malta 1 and 2, and now we have the third one. We have to revalidate the flight manual because the new propeller and the improved engine changes something. So we have to do the flight test so that we can say the performance data are complying with the former data, and we can use the flight manual of the previous aircraft. So we have done the flight test after we have discussed with EASA the flight test, including all the scheduling, and we have provided EASA we have provided the certification plan to EASA. And there happens another item. One, we do not recognize early enough that due to the change we have done with the winglet, we changed the certification basis, because the first change was a significant change, and therefore we have to use the latest CS 23 amendment. The second change was later on, and in the first race, and it was overseen by EASA and by us, was based on the old FIR requirements which was applicable before. But caused by this significant change we have done before, we have to apply, or we have to cover the latest amendment of the CS. So that is also a warning. Be careful if anybody modified the aircraft to a higher CS standard, to a higher amendment, you have to follow this higher requirements. We have overseen that, and we have to do later on an entire conversation tableau which covers all the stuff, but it was a real last time change. You can imagine what's happened if this message comes 3 days prior to the certification. That's blood, sweat and tears. And the other one was, and that is mentioned also the last time, that's the cooperation with EASA with regard to the flight tests. There I have to say it was a real tough luck we have had. We have made a wonderful time frame, wonderful timing, everything works well. We are in time with starting our flight test, but then happens with EASA that one flight test pilot quits the job, and the other one has to go to China because of any accident investigation, though we do not have any pilot anymore. On the flight test engineer side, it was the same troubles. There were no flight test engineer available from the fixed wing portion, so we get one from the rotorcraft. He's not so familiar with all the performance data and how to get hold or how to develop this data. And so we have a very hard life during the flight test period. At the end, we made all the flight tests without a EASA flight test pilot because nobody was available. And we have a hard time with a flight test engineer because he was not aware of or not involved so much in flight testing of a fixed wing aircraft. And this was after getting the change with all the certification specification. That was the last change we have to make. We have to, at the last day, we're flying the aircraft in Malta for any performance data the flight test engineer is asking for. And really, we get the paper from Malta, we send it to EASA, and then we get the stamp on the STC. So what I would like to say, it's really difficult if you're going in panels at EASA where the human resources or the human capability is not, or workforce is not available. Be careful and try to organize a way out or how to solve this problem. Otherwise, we wouldn't match the goal with the delivery of the aircraft. And if you can talk with a civil customer, you can say, okay, you give some discount or anything like that. If you do not fulfill your requirements with a governmental owner, you will be asked, you do not comply with the requirements signed in the contract, and you have the contract one with the wrong statement. You are not able to reach this point. So, yeah, I would like to draw the attention in that or regarding to the capability or capacity on both sides. We have to stay in very close contact with EASA with regard to flight test. I indicate one problem there, and the other one was to structure experts. 5 years ago, there was also very hard life to get all the documents signed or checked in the time frame we expect. Yeah, that was from my side with regard to the certification of the aircraft. Here I do have a short presentation with the COTS, the commercial off-the-shelf equipment. Here's one point I would like to address. We have several sensors and computers installed in the aircraft which are not certified for the standard use in aircraft. It would be helpful if, in this case, the rules applicable to the smaller aircraft may get usable for us, that we can use this equipment as well without further testing, or not without further testing, but with reduced paperwork. You can imagine if you have a video splitter in your mission rack. The video splitter is a COTS off the shelf, and I'm pretty sure that the company, wherever Dell, will never give you any change note if they change anything. But the customer has to install this new video splitter in his system. But how he can arrange this? You will never be in the position to provide a EASA Form 1 or another paper. So there we have to look for any possibility to help the customer, not to find a short track for that, to allow him to install this equipment in a legal way. That would be a recommendation for further rule making, how we can handle equipment which is not necessary for flight, but installed in the aircraft and therefore normally has the obligation of a EASA Form 1. So, yeah. Then I would like to thank you for your attention, and yeah, if there are any questions, 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left.
Thank you very much. So the point is noted for the request for a rulemaking task we are going to ask. We have one question. Mr. Cyrus Lowe from Austro Control, is the replacement of each COTS equipment currently at least a minor change? Carla, I'm not sure, can we answer that just like this?
I would defer to... Sorry. No, I would defer to reply in written way to this, because I'm not in the position to confirm that. I mean, yeah, I would rather check internally and to ensure that the answer is fully recognized. Yes, please, of course.
May I ask AERODATA how you're dealing with the continued airworthiness issues on the emission equipment with the COTS equipment?
So we do have a number of units which are well known to us, running through a certification process, running through a qualification test. We have, as I mentioned before, EMI test benches. We have a temperature test possibility or capability, and we have other laboratories we are using for getting certified one or the other. If we're having, and I'm coming back to the video splitter, if we're having such component, we are doing a minor change. Yeah. So if it's changed, if this is the same one, we are doing a test, and we can send it out because it's approved within the equipment. So we can do a replacement in this case. We are making a qualification. This is afterward an AERODATA part, and then we can send it out with the EASA Form 1 after doing some tests.